A blonde lady stands in front of the guy, and he thinks to himself that from today, he has a fake girlfriend. The lady looks at him with clear disgust and says he looks ugly. The guy tries to stay calm, not wanting to show any anger or react to her insult. He silently wonders how his life reached this point. It all starts when he tries to get some allowance from his older sister. She tells him to join an all-girl group chat in her place, explaining that she is too busy to keep up with the chat herself. She promises to pay him if he plays a few games with the girls and warns him not to let them find out he is actually a guy. He agrees to help her. One day, while secretly looking at the photos shared in the girls-only chat, he receives a notification. Someone named Mokigogo sends him a direct message telling him to come to the cafe in town by noon the next day, hinting that bad things will happen if he ignores the message. At the cafe, he discovers that Mochigogo is the blonde lady. She accuses him of being a creep for looking at her photos. He quickly apologizes, saying he has never seen anyone as pretty as her, hoping that complimenting her will calm the situation. Suddenly, she brings up the idea of him being her boyfriend, which shocks him. Seeing his reaction, she quickly explains that she wants him to be her fake boyfriend. She doesn't want her friends to look down on her for not having a boyfriend. When he asks what he's supposed to do, she tells him that he should already know what boyfriends normally do. Then she casually suggests that they can start by going somewhere together right away. Simon Choi sits in his room on a chair in front of his computer. He is a second-year college student currently taking a break from school. To him, playing games feels like giving people orders, not following them. He wonders why he should listen to others when he is already an adult. Since childhood, his older sister has always ordered him around. He has done chores and errands all his life, and that hasn't changed even after becoming a legal adult. One day, his sister asks him to play on her game account for her. Simon refuses at first, but she insists, saying she is too busy lately and her character is being neglected. He tells her it's not his problem until she shows him some cash and offers to pay him $300 each month. Annoyed but tempted, Simon agrees, thinking that the money is what matters. Later, as he checks the information about his sister's guild, called the Fivers, he learns that it's ranked in the top 5. He teases his sister about her handle, Proglamore, and says it must have been hard to join such a high-ranking guild. She admits it was difficult, but then mentions something important she forgot to tell him. The entire guild is made up of women, and no men are allowed. Hearing that, Simon spits out his drink in shock. He scolds her for not telling him sooner, asking what she expected him to do if the other members notice something strange. She tells him to keep it a secret so she won't get kicked out. Simon agrees, thinking that if things go wrong, he can simply disappear and avoid the problem. Back then, he thought it wouldn't be a big deal. Now, a month later, Simon sits at his desk looking drained and exhausted. He realizes things are much harder than he expected. The guild members are extreme MMO addicts, always suspicious and constantly planning offline meetups. He wonders what excuse he can use this time to avoid meeting them in person. Simon hears his phone buzz with a new message. He wonders why the guild is messaging him again, but when he reads the message, he smiles without thinking. Only later does he realize how strange it is to be the only man in a group chat full of women. He starts to wonder why the guild didn't want any male members in the first place. He also feels nervous, knowing that lately the guild members seem to be growing suspicious of him. He can't even come up with good excuses anymore. He imagines the worst-case scenario, being exposed as a fraud, ending up on the news, and becoming an outcast at college. He tells himself that cannot happen, but quitting is no longer an option. He needs the money from his sister, and he has grown attached to everyone in the guild. Then, another message arrives, this time from his sister. She tells him that she's quitting gaming for good because she needs to focus on job hunting. She tells him he can either sell or delete the account and that she will send him his final payment, so he doesn't need to play anymore. Simon feels relieved. His problem is finally solved. He writes a short goodbye message in the guild chat saying he's quitting those and logs out of the game, knowing there's no reason to stay if the payments are ending. Later, Simon lies on his bed feeling restless. Without the game, he's bored. He realizes that if he hadn't quit, he'd probably be chatting with the guild members right now about random, everyday things. He remembers how they insisted he attend the next meetup he skipped, but he brushes the thought aside, reminding himself that it doesn't matter anymore. After all, No men are allowed in the guild, and the fake relationship with them would have ended the moment they discovered his secret. Still, he feels curious. He wonders how they're all doing now. Since he never deleted his account or unfriended them, he decides to check for a moment, guessing there will be a lot of unread messages. He picks up his phone. Then a message appears from Mochi Gogo, the one person he didn't expect. He remembers she said nothing when he announced his departure. Now he reads her message, which says she knows he's a man. Stunned, Simon immediately drops his phone and buries himself under his blanket, thinking he's in serious trouble. He wonders why it had to be Mochi Gogo, the member who hates men more than anyone else. Another message from her follows. She tells him to meet her at the cafe in town by noon tomorrow. She adds that he knows what will happen if he doesn't show up. Simon sighs, accepting that he has no choice but to do what she says. The next day, Simon sits nervously in the cafe. He wonders what he should do. Maybe he should just get on his knees and beg for forgiveness. He even hopes that Mochi Gogo won't show up at all. But his hope fades when she arrives soon after, walking straight up to him and asking if he is Proglamor. He nods, realizing she looks just as pretty as he imagined. He had expected her to be a gloomy shut-in who lived online, but she looks like a normal person. This makes him wonder why someone like her swears so much. She sits down across from him and tells him bluntly that he looks like a loser. Hearing that, Simon feels sure that she really is Mochi Gogo. Her sharp words confirm it. Still, he tries to stay calm and focus on why he came. He bows slightly and apologizes, explaining that he didn't plan to trick them. He says the account belongs to his sister, who paid him to play in her place. Mochi Gogo replies that she knew all along, saying there's no way his sister Jane could have been such a bad gamer. She just found it strange that no one else figured it out. She then asks if he saw all the photos they shared in the chat. When he admits it, she accuses him of planning to run away after looking at their pictures. Simon tries to explain that he didn't mean to see them, and it's not like he asked for those photos to be sent. But she keeps pressing, saying that he must have kept his identity hidden because he wanted to keep spending time with her, knowing he couldn't tell her the truth because she hates men. She calls him a creep. Suddenly, Simon wonders if she had been uploading those photos on purpose, but that thought confuses him even more. Why would she do that? She quickly denies it, saying she didn't upload them just so he could see them, then adds that he's probably silent now because he secretly admires her. Then, out of nowhere, she asks why he never asked her out before quitting the game. Simon is stunned by her question and can't respond. She continues, saying that not like she would have said yes, but maybe she would have thought about it if he had asked. In that moment, Simon realizes something surprising. She must think he stayed in the guild because of her. It's true that he talked to her the most, but in his mind, it was just as a normal guild member, nothing more. Most of the time, when Mochi Gogo posted her photos in the group chat, Simon was usually the only one who replied to her. He hadn't done it because he was interested in her, but because everyone else ignored her, and he felt a little sorry for her. But now, sitting in front of her at the cafe, Simon starts to think this might actually be his chance to avoid trouble. If he keeps playing along with whatever she wants, maybe she'll keep quiet and not tell the others that he's a man. He admits to her that she's probably right, that he must have looked like a fool replying to her all the time. He decides that his best option now is to keep complimenting her, just to smooth things over. Trying to look as serious as possible, he tells her that he was surprised to see she looks even prettier in real life than in the photos she posted. He says that even though she acted like she didn't care, she actually paid attention to him the most, and that he always noticed how good she was at the game. He adds that she has a really good personality, too. Mochi Gogo interrupts him at that point, telling him that's enough, though she looks slightly pleased by the compliments. She then tells him that, at first, she thought he was an idiot and maybe even a mute because he barely talked. But now that she hears him speak, she guesses he's finally realized that she was always on his side. After that, she goes back to speaking down to him like usual, but Simon forces himself to stay calm and bear with it. Mochi Gogo then suddenly asks him what he plans to do now. Simon is confused by the question and asks what she means, not understanding if there's something specific he's supposed to do. She tells him that now that the woman he admires is sitting right in front of him, there must be something he wants to do, the kind of things people do when they have a girlfriend. Simon, still lost, replies that maybe they could go out to eat at a restaurant and watch a movie. She responds that, Yes, something like that, but also hints that there must be something more he wants. Simon just looks at her, still confused, unsure what she means. He thinks for a moment and tries to say that maybe after the date he could just go home and relax, but Mochigogo misunderstands his words. She smiles and tells him he must have good taste in women. Then, without warning, she moves from across the table and sits down next to him. She tells him that, since he's been such a good boy, she'll reward him by showing him all the photos she's taken of herself up until now. She asks him if he's grateful for that. Not knowing what else to do, Simon thanks her and continues to play along. At this point, Simon feels completely lost. He doesn't even know what he's doing anymore. He decides he'll just keep going along with whatever she wants, and once this is over, he'll go straight home. He reasons that as long as he keeps playing along, she'll probably keep his secret. Then, Mochigogo asks for his real name. Simon tells her honestly, giving her his name. She smiles again, saying she'll now show him those photos he once said she looked cute in. But when she hands him her phone, what she shows him is something completely different. As soon as Mochigogo realizes what she just showed Simon, she screams in shock and immediately runs out of the cafe. People around them look confused, wondering what just happened. Simon sits there in silence, unsure what he's supposed to do now that she's just disappeared like that. Later, Simon is back at his place, lying on his bed. He stares at the ceiling, feeling uneasy. He hasn't heard from Mochigogo since the incident yesterday, and it's starting to bother him. He figures she must be too embarrassed to contact him, especially since she looked like she was about to cry when she ran out of the cafe. He briefly considers texting her to check if she's okay, but then tells himself there's no reason to do that. He convinces himself that it's none of his business and there's no reason to care. Yet, when he remembers the strange way she spoke back at the cafe, he can't shake the feeling that maybe she wanted something from him, more than he wanted from her. While he's lost in thought, his phone buzzes. It's a message from Mochigogo. She accuses him of thinking she would stay quiet after what happened and demands that he meet her right away. She warns him that he better do as she says if he wants her to keep his secret. Simon feels his stomach drop. He realizes his worst fear might be coming true. He knows he needs to settle things with her, once and for all. They eventually meet on the street. Simon greets her politely, but Mochigogo immediately snaps at him, asking how he can act so casually right now. She also scolds him for not calling her after she ran away the other day. Simon tries to explain himself, saying he didn't want to make her feel worse. He thought contacting her first might embarrass her even more, so he was just trying to look out for her. Mochigogo crosses her arms and asks if he didn't feel strange after seeing that video. Simon awkwardly says he wouldn't dare feel that way, but she tells him she doesn't believe him. Then she surprises him by saying he doesn't need to act like he's trying to protect her. Simon is caught off guard. She tells him he probably thinks she's embarrassed about what happened, but she insists that she isn't. She claims that it's completely normal and nothing to be ashamed of, that everyone does that kind of thing. Simon silently admits to himself that she did storm out crying yesterday, but he decides to play along anyway. He agrees with her, saying she's right, and then adds that he was worried about her, but he's glad to see she's fine now. Then he asks if they're done talking, saying he wants to leave. But Mochigogo stops him. She tells him he can't leave yet because he needs to take responsibility for what happened. Simon is shocked. He thought the plan was simple. They'd keep each other's secrets and move on. But she explains that taking responsibility means he now has to go out with her. According to her, since he saw the video, he has to become her boyfriend. That's what he wanted after all, right? She tells him they'll go to restaurants, watch movies, and do all the things couples usually do. Simon feels completely frustrated. To him, Mochigogo is nothing but trouble. He realizes now that she actually wants them to go out together and, worse, that she probably believes he would be happy about it, since she thinks he likes her. But there's one thing Simon understands clearly. As long as she has dirt on him, she's in control. She can force him to do whatever she wants, whenever she wants. He tells himself that the only choice he has is to keep playing along and follow whatever she says. He thinks about suggesting that maybe they could go on a few casual dates first before becoming an official couple, but before he can even finish speaking, she cuts him off. She declares that they're already a couple from this moment and grabs his hand, pulling him along and saying they should go do what he's always wanted to do. Simon is left in complete shock, not understanding how things have gone so wrong. Without realizing it, he ends up following her aimlessly until he finds himself standing inside a motel. That's when the seriousness of the situation hits him. He stands frozen, realizing that she wasn't joking. She dragged him all the way here because she was serious about it. He panics, thinking that if anything happens now, there's no way to undo it. He starts to wonder if he should just turn around and run. Meanwhile, inside the bathroom, Moki Gogo is taking a shower. She imagines Simon trembling in fear out in the room, though she tells herself that's probably just her imagination. Still, she thinks about how he feels different from the other guys who liked her in the past. He didn't run around telling everyone her secret, and he even stayed quiet after the embarrassing moment at the cafe. She thinks maybe things are fine the way they are. But when she steps out of the bathroom, she catches Simon standing by the door, clearly trying to leave. He freezes the moment she sees him. He tries to explain, saying he can explain everything, but she cuts him off. She confronts him, saying straight out that he was just trying to run away from her. Simon quickly says he isn't trying to run away, but Mochigogo tells him to forget it. Her voice sounds quiet now, and Simon feels like something is different about her. It takes him a moment to realize that she's actually crying. The tough, sharp-tongued girl who always acted strong now stands in front of him with tears running down her face. Confused, he softly asks why she's crying. She wipes her eyes and tells him that she knows she went too far. She admits that this is only the second time they've met in real life, and she must have lost control of herself for a moment. She tells him to just ignore her right now because she feels embarrassed and doesn't want him to see her like this. Simon, in a way, feels relieved. He thinks it's good that she finally decided to leave him alone, but as he watches her stand there, clearly upset, he starts to wonder if just leaving her like this is really the right thing to do. After all, she's just standing there in a thin towel, straight from the shower, and he's sure she'll catch a cold if she stays like that. In the end, he decides to try saying something. He carefully suggests that maybe they can talk, even if it's just for a short while. Once they both sit down again, Simon looks at her seriously and asks if she really likes him that much. Before he can even process what's happening, a pillow hits him straight in the face. Mochigogo shouts at him, asking why she would ever like someone like him. Simon, confused, asks her why she dragged him around all day and why she even brought him to the motel if she didn't like him. She retorts that she was only offering to be his girlfriend for one day, nothing more. That answer confuses him even more. He asks her why she would even do something like that. What's the point? What does she gain from pretending to be his girlfriend for a day? She answers bluntly. She says it's because he likes her. Simon sits there stunned. He can't believe she still thinks that he admires her. She crosses her arms and quietly admits that she's never really understood him from the start. She remembers 4 months ago when he first messaged her in the guild's group chat asking for help. She thought it was strange at the time, a guild member suddenly acting completely different, like a stranger. That's when she guessed that Jane, the original account owner, must have given her account to someone else. To her, it was obvious that he wasn't a woman from the start. She says she even considered reporting him to the guild leader. After all, the guild leader had told everyone to report anything suspicious, especially if someone broke the guild's strict no-men rule. But in the end, she didn't. She tells Simon that, honestly, she had to give him some points for bravery. She explains that when she posted a photo of herself in the group chat, Simon was the only one who actually said something nice about it. He complimented her picture when everyone else ignored it. She admits that she noticed he seemed to have good taste in fashion, and that's when she started paying attention to him more closely, trying to figure out who he really was. Back in the present, Simon processes everything she said. Then he calmly asks if she started taking interest in him simply because she realized he wasn't Jane. Mochigogo nods, saying that's right. She only started watching him as a fellow guild member after noticing something was wrong. But Simon doesn't believe her. He tells her straight that he can't accept that explanation. He says no one would go that far to protect someone's secret just out of curiosity. He points out that she chose to keep his identity hidden from all the other guild members, even when she had the perfect chance to expose him. He says there must have been some other reason. Hearing that, Mochigogo suddenly looks nervous. She avoids eye contact and snaps back at him, asking what other reason could there be. Simon pushes further. He accuses her of waiting for the chance to get dirt on him all this time. He says that's probably why she brought him here after what happened yesterday, because she knew about the video, and he pretended not to see it. He tells her that must have been her plan all along. But Mochigogo snaps at him angrily, saying that he's the one who followed her here. She didn't force him. He came on his own. Then her voice grows quieter. She tells him to just forget it. She says she's done talking because trying to explain anything to him feels like talking to a wall. She turns away, saying she's going to leave. Watching her, Simon thinks that maybe this should be the end of it. After all, they've only met twice in real life. Since he kept her secret, she should do the same for him, and that should be enough to settle everything between them. But deep down, he knows that if he lets himself get involved with her any further, things could easily spiral into something far worse than this. Mochigogo quietly says goodbye and starts walking away, fully expecting Simon to stop her. But when she glances back, she sees that he's just standing there, not moving, not saying a word. He really isn't going to stop her. That thought hits her harder than she expected. She wasn't actually planning to leave. She just wanted him to stop her. As she reaches the door, she tries to tell herself it's fine. She can easily find another guy who actually admires her, someone who would want to be with her without hesitation. After all, this is only the second time she and Simon have met face to face, so there's no reason for her to regret anything. But just as she's about to step out of the room, she pauses. Her mind drifts back to the time Simon had complimented her in the game, the time he said he was glad to be in the same guild as her. That memory stays with her, and she can't shake it off. It makes her feel something she can't quite explain. Her frustration builds up, and she turns around. She storms back toward him and tells him flatly that she changed her mind. She says it pisses her off that she was just going to leave like that, without saying what she really wanted to say. She tells Simon that if he wasn't interested, he should have at least told her so directly. Then, with frustration in her voice, she asks him why he even agreed to take responsibility for his actions in the first place if he didn't mean any of it. Looking at her, Simon worries she might attack him in anger. She looks upset enough to punch him. But to his surprise, instead of hitting him, she suddenly drops to her knees in front of him. Her whole body seems to lose strength as she sits there, crying. She blames him for everything, her voice breaking as she asks if all the things he said to her were lies. Every compliment, every kind word, every moment he acted like he cared. Seeing her cry like that, Simon realizes he can't ignore her anymore. He knows he has no choice now. Without thinking, he agrees to do whatever she wants. Right now, all he can do is give in. As Simon watches her crying, he thinks back on everything that's happened so far. He remembers how she always talked down to him, constantly acted like she was better than everyone else, and seemed to value herself way too highly. In just a few hours, he feels like he's figured out what kind of person she really is. A complete psycho and nothing but trouble. Still, it's not like he has no idea why she's acting this way. He suspects that she probably picked him because she was bored. To her, this might just be some twisted game. After all, she has something to hold over him now, and she can use it to drag him around however she wants. At least that's what he thought up until now. But seeing her crying like this, he suddenly feels differently. Without understanding why, he agrees to do what she wants. When she hears that, she asks him why he changed his mind so suddenly. Simon hesitates, but then tells her the truth. He admits that he knows it probably sounds strange, and it's not like he's suddenly attracted to her or anything, but at the very least, she's made him curious. He wants to know what kind of person she really is underneath all of this. He tells her honestly that even though she acts cold and rough, she doesn't seem like a bad person to him. Just like that, Mochigogo suddenly stops crying. It's as if she switches back to her usual self in an instant. With her usual smug smile, she says that Simon must really like her after all. Simon, seeing her acting all confident again after just sobbing moments ago, can't help but feel annoyed. It pisses him off a little, how quickly she can shift back to being so bossy. What surprises him more is how eager she suddenly is to have fun again. When he tries to tell her that maybe they should slow things down and take it bit by bit, she teases him. She calls him naive, even though he insists he isn't. He tries to explain that he just needs some time to get used to everything first, but she cuts him off. She says that he seems naive no matter what he says, and that she'll just have to lead him like she always did back when they played together online. But Simon watches her carefully and realizes something. She's actually nervous. Even though she's trying to act all high and mighty like usual, he can see through her now. She's not as fearless as she pretends to be. He reasons that it must have taken her a lot of courage to bring him here in the first place. Thinking that, Simon suddenly decides to take the lead himself. His bold move catches her completely off guard. She looks shocked for a moment, not knowing how to react. But as he tries to take charge, doing his best to look out for her, she suddenly bursts into laughter. His serious expression, while trying to be protective, seems to amuse her more than anything. Seeing her laughing like that annoys Simon even more. He feels like she's just playing with him again. Out of frustration, he decides to speed things up, surprising her with how serious he suddenly gets. This time, it's her turn to be stunned, not knowing how to respond. Meanwhile, Mochigogo starts to wonder if Simon is actually serious about having fun with her or if he's just pretending. Curious, she looks at him and tells him to prove it, to show her if he really wants to play. Wanting to avoid being seen as weak, Simon does exactly that, showing her that he's willing to go along with whatever she wants. His reaction surprises her more than she expected. After a short pause, she tries to regain control of the situation, claiming that she's going to give him a special treat. However, instead of pleasing him, she accidentally hurts him. Simon winces from the unexpected pain, realizing something important. She's just pretending to know what she's doing. In reality, she's probably as clueless as he is. She's only acting like an expert, but it's clear now that she's naive and inexperienced herself. Realizing her mistake, Mochigogo awkwardly decides to give it another try, this time being more careful. She does a better job now, though her pride keeps her from admitting how uncertain she feels. After regaining some confidence, she teases Simon again, claiming that he looks really nervous. Simon, not bothering to deny it anymore, agrees. He says of course he's nervous. After all, just a few days ago, she was just a guild member he chatted with online, and now suddenly they're doing this in real life. Hearing that, Mochigogo silently agrees. It really does feel strange to her too, even if she won't say it out loud. As things continue, Simon takes the lead and tries to guide them both. But the more time passes, the more he realizes the truth. Mochigogo is actually inexperienced, just like him. This must be her first time trying something like this, no matter how much she tries to hide it. When Simon carefully asks if this is actually her first time, Mochigogo immediately pretends not to understand what he's talking about. She acts confident, claiming that she's not naive at all, and starts talking down to him again, acting all bossy like nothing's wrong. Simon watches her, feeling frustrated. Part of him wants to just get it over with and stop thinking about it. But something keeps bothering him, and he knows he can't keep going like this. Seeing him hesitate, she asks, "What's wrong?" Simon stays quiet for a moment before explaining. He tells her honestly that whether she's experienced or not doesn't actually matter to him. What bothers him is that she keeps lying to him. He points out that she constantly belittles him too, acting as if she's above him all the time. He admits that he was hoping she'd be a little more honest now that they're here together. And he even apologizes, saying he's sorry if he came off a little too harsh earlier. At first, Mochigogo looks annoyed. Then, clearly frustrated, she snaps at him. She asks why everyone makes such a big deal over whether she's naive or not. Finally, unable to hold it in anymore, she admits the truth. She angrily confesses that this is her first time with everything. She glares at him and asks if he's happy now that he knows her secret. But even after admitting the truth, she keeps acting like her usual self, claiming it can't be helped. After all, he admires her. Now that she's trying to take the lead again, Simon notices how clumsy she really is. When she fumbles once more, he can't help it anymore and bursts into laughter. He teases her, asking if that's seriously the best she can do after claiming she'd take the lead. He tells her straight that maybe she should just let him handle everything instead. Mochigogo, however, doesn't take the teasing lightly. She becomes furious and stubbornly pushes ahead. Her sudden boldness surprises Simon. He didn't expect her to be so decisive after being called out. Concerned, he tells her she doesn't need to force herself just to prove something. But she snaps back at him, saying that she's not forcing herself at all. She insists that she's doing this because she wants to, because she likes it. Seeing how different Haley is acting now, Simon starts to wonder if she's finally being more honest with him. She isn't putting up her usual walls, and she isn't acting all high and mighty anymore. For the first time, she seems more genuine. Thinking that, Simon decides to take the lead for real this time. Even as he leads, Simon can't help but feel a little shocked at what's happening. Just days ago, she used to look down on him in the guild's group chat, always acting like he was beneath her. But now, here she is, acting all quiet and meek, following his lead without any of her usual sharp remarks. It feels strange, almost surreal to him. While they're spending time together, Haley suddenly breaks the silence. She looks at him seriously and asks if there's anything else he wants to know about her. Simon blinks, not understanding what she means at first. She then reminds him that earlier, he said he wanted to get to know her better. She smirks slightly, saying he should feel honored because she's now willing to answer any questions he might have about her. Simon, realizing she's being serious, decides to tease her a little, making a playful comment. But Haley quickly fires back with her usual sharpness, taunting him right back. After a moment, Haley falls quiet and seems to think about something. Then, with a small sigh, she says she's been thinking it over and points out something Simon missed. She says he still hasn't asked her the most important question. Simon is confused until she tells him flatly that he's going to keep calling her Mochi Go-Go forever, isn't he? She adds that it's a little sad, considering he doesn't even know her real name. Hearing that, Simon freezes for a second. It hits him. He really doesn't know her name yet. She's right. He feels a bit embarrassed and admits that it's not fair. He tells her that she knows his real name, but he doesn't know hers. He also says that it would feel better if they started using their real names now, instead of just their online handles. Haley looks at him for a moment before finally telling him her name. Haley O, she says clearly. She adds that she won't forgive him if he forgets it, so he better remember it properly. Then, softening a little, she says it's nice to meet him, this time for real. Later, Simon sits alone at his place when his phone buzzes. It's a message from Haley. She's asking him if he's thought about what she suggested at the motel the day before. He stares at the message for a while, thinking carefully. Then, after a few moments of hesitation, he sends a reply. Starting today, he will pretend to be her boyfriend. As he sets down his phone, Simon finds himself lost in thought. Since he was young, Simon always understood that life isn't fair. He remembers a memory from when he was a kid. After losing a game at the arcade, his sister Jane told him they had to leave before their parents found out where they were. But what stayed with him more than her words was the simple fact that no matter how many times he played that game, he always lost. He had played more than Jane, but she won easily. That's when he learned something hard to accept. Some people are simply more gifted than others, and no matter how hard he tried, that invisible wall, the one separating ordinary people from the talented, always blocked his path whenever it mattered most. It wasn't just games. In school, during exams, no matter how hard he studied, there was always someone better than him. He thought it might change in college, but it didn't. Even when it came to relationships, the pattern stayed the same. He remembers how his first girlfriend broke up with him and soon after started dating the student representative, someone who always seemed ahead of him in everything. Over time, Simon's attitude toward life shifted. His friends tried to set him up on blind dates, but he refused every time. He convinced himself there was no point. His thinking became simple. There are always people better than him, so why bother trying? He believed no girl would ever want to be paired with someone like him anyway. Better to avoid putting himself in situations where he might get hurt again. He glances outside at the cherry blossom tree. The petals float gently in the breeze. He watches quietly, thinking to himself that the cherry blossoms look beautiful today. As he watches them dance through the air, he reflects on his life. He was certain that nothing special would ever happen to him. He believed he would probably keep living the same quiet, lonely life forever, unless something extraordinary came along to change it. And at that moment, he still believed that. Back at the motel the previous day, Simon feels shocked when Haley suddenly says she wants him to be her boyfriend. He thinks about how strange this situation is and realizes that none of this would be happening if he had never joined that women-only guild. He tries to explain to Haley that things are moving too fast for him. But Haley quickly makes it clear that she doesn't mean she wants to actually date him for real. She just wants him to pretend to be her boyfriend. Her reason is simple. If he plays the role, it will help cover up the fact that he had been secretly using his sister's account to sneak into the guild. Simon feels confused. He tells her that he has already quit the guild, so he doesn't understand why she's worried about it. He thanks her for trying to help him, but he thinks it's unnecessary now. In his mind, the problem is already over. However, Haley doesn't let it go. She tells him that he is being naive. She points out that he just disappeared from the guild without any explanation, and that alone might make people suspicious. She reminds him how close everyone in the guild is. They share everything in their group chat, even personal details. She explains that all of them know Jane has a younger brother who likes video games. After Jane handed her account over to him, he was terrible at pretending to be her. He kept acting strangely and awkwardly, and then out of nowhere, he quit the guild without a reason. Haley tells Simon that if anyone in the guild starts thinking about why Jane's account suddenly disappeared, they're going to figure it out. If they start connecting the pieces, it won't take long before they suspect the truth, that Jane's younger brother had been using her account and pretending to be her all along. Everyone knows he's bad at games, so it won't be hard for them to guess who had been behind the account the entire time. With that in mind, Haley offers Simon a simple solution. She explains that the guild leader recently sent out a message about a guild meetup scheduled for the 20th. Everyone in the guild is expected to attend. Haley's plan is for both of them to show up together at the meetup. She wants Simon to attend as her boyfriend. By doing that, she believes they can divert suspicion away from him. If everyone sees him there with her, they won't think twice about Jane's account or who had been using it. Haley believes this is the only way to protect him from being exposed. Simon agrees to Haley's plan, but deep down, he feels uneasy. He wonders if pretending to be her boyfriend will only make things worse. It's already exhausting that Haley believes he admires her. Now he has to pretend to be her boyfriend in front of everyone, even though they're not actually dating. He feels trapped, but he doesn't see any other way out. A few days later, Simon receives a sudden call from Haley. The moment he picks up, she starts shouting at him. She's upset that he hasn't been checking her messages and complains that she's been waiting all day for his reply. She then asks if he's ever met any of the guild members in person other than her. Simon answers honestly that he hasn't. He tells her he's only seen their faces through the photos they uploaded to the group chat, and since he quit, he hasn't contacted any of them. Hearing this, Haley sounds relieved. She explains that it's important none of the guild members suspect anything. Then, without giving him a chance to argue, she tells him to meet her at a place called Bar L exactly 1 week from now. She instructs him to arrive by 7:30, which means he should come 30 minutes earlier than the meetup time, just to be safe. Haley tells him that she'll introduce him as her boyfriend, so he needs to be prepared and act naturally without being nervous. Before Simon can respond, she ends the call. After hanging up, Simon thinks about what's coming. He realizes that the day he's been dreading is finally approaching. Soon, he'll meet the guild members he's only ever chatted with online. The thought makes him nervous. Meanwhile, after ending the call, Haley smiles to herself. She's clearly excited. She thinks happily that she finally has a boyfriend, even if it's just pretend. She imagines that maybe this is how relationships start for everyone. She seems overly thrilled by the idea and glances at her calendar, hoping that next week arrives quickly. Finally, the day of the meetup arrives. Haley reaches Bar L and looks around. She wonders if she arrived too early since no one else seems to be there yet. She mutters to herself, worrying that Simon might think she came early because she was too excited. As she keeps mumbling under her breath, she suddenly notices something odd. The door to the bar is open, and the lights are on. Curious, she wonders if Simon arrived earlier than her because he was nervous too. She approaches the door carefully, but just as she opens it and steps inside, she freezes in shock. Right there inside the bar, she sees Simon talking to one of the guild members. The guild member, whose online handle is Watermelon, introduces herself as Chelsea Yun. Chelsea is smiling as she tells Simon that Haley has no idea how surprised she is right now. She says she never would have imagined that the boyfriend Haley was going to introduce would turn out to be Simon. Standing at the entrance, Haley stares silently, her mind racing. She can't help but wonder in confusion, how do Chelsea and Simon already know each other? A week earlier, on the day Simon agrees to Haley's proposal, he lies on his bed and stares at his phone. He checks his bank account and sees that his balance is only $450. He feels frustrated and confused, wondering how all the money he made from his part-time jobs disappeared so quickly. Before, he used to tutor students or take part-time shifts to cover his living expenses, but after he started receiving easy money from his sister for playing her game account, he got lazy. Now that money flow has stopped and reality is hitting him hard. Simon looks through his closet, searching for something decent to wear to the upcoming guild meetup. As he flips through his clothes, he realizes just how badly he's been ignoring his situation. The problem becomes clear. He needs to look presentable for the meetup, but without money, there's not much he can do. Adding to his frustration, the only job he applied for recently is one that receives a flood of applications because of its good pay and working conditions. He thinks the chances of getting that job are slim. But just as he's feeling hopeless, his phone rings. It's a call from a place called Juice Hub. To his surprise, they want him to come in for an interview. Hearing this, Simon feels like maybe luck isn't completely against him after all. He feels relieved and quickly prepares to leave. The place is close to where he lives, the pay is excellent, and the person on the phone sounded kind and friendly. However, something nags at him. The voice on the phone felt oddly familiar, though he tries to brush it off as his imagination. Simon arrives at Juice Hub and steps inside. A woman greets him warmly, saying he arrived earlier than she expected. She introduces herself as the owner of the cafe, Chelsea Yun. Hearing her name and seeing her face, Simon freezes. It hits him instantly. Chelsea is one of the guild members. Her online handle is Watermelon. Shocked, Simon panics and turns around, running out of the cafe without saying a word. Later, Simon is back at Juice Hub, sitting awkwardly across from Chelsea. She looks at him curiously and asks why he ran away earlier. Simon, trying to act casual, nervously replies that he doesn't know why he did that. He forces himself to stay calm. In his mind, he reassures himself Chelsea doesn't know that he is Proglamer. She's never seen his face or heard his voice in the game. There's no reason for her to recognize him as the person who had been pretending to be his sister online. For now, Simon tells himself that everything should be fine, at least if he plays it cool. Suddenly, Chelsea mentions that when she checked Simon's application, his family register showed he has a sister named Jane Choi. She says it caught her attention because she has a friend with a similar name. Hearing this, Simon is shocked. He accidentally spits out his drink and starts coughing, completely caught off guard. Chelsea looks genuinely concerned and asks if he's all right. Simon, however, is panicking inside. He thinks to himself that there's no way he can work here now. Knowing that Chelsea is connected to his sister in some way and is also a guild member, he feels certain that sooner or later, she might figure out that he's the one who's been posing as Jane online. With Haley planning to introduce him to the guild members as her boyfriend at the meetup next week, Simon knows it's only a matter of time before everything comes crashing down. Without giving Chelsea any more explanation, Simon stands up suddenly. He apologizes to her politely, saying he's thankful she considered hiring him, but he doesn't think he can take the job after all. Before Chelsea can respond, he quickly turns and heads for the door, trying to get away before the situation gets worse. Chelsea, surprised by his sudden change of mind, runs after him, calling out. She asks if it's about the pay, telling him she can offer him a higher rate if that's the issue. But as she tries to catch up to him, she stumbles and falls hard onto the floor. Seeing Chelsea fall, Simon stops in his tracks. He turns back, worried. He sees that Chelsea is sitting on the floor with a nosebleed. But even in that state, she still asks him if he can at least stay and watch the staff work for a day before making his final decision about the job. Simon feels conflicted. As he looks around, he notices a framed photo nearby showing Chelsea holding a baby. He realizes for the first time that Chelsea isn't just running a cafe, she's also raising a child. That explains why she works so hard. He thinks about how much effort she must be putting into balancing her life and running the cafe, and wonders why she's so determined to hire him, a complete stranger. But seeing her sitting there, bleeding, yet still asking for his help, makes it impossible for him to say no. Simon silently agrees to stay, unable to refuse someone in her position. As he watches Chelsea return to work alongside her staff, Simon observes how different she is from what he imagined. A male staff member scolds a female worker for accidentally spilling a drink on Chelsea, but Chelsea simply brushes it off and says it's fine. Watching this, Simon thinks to himself that whether online or in person, Chelsea seems like a genuinely good person. While he stands there thinking about all of this, Simon suddenly notices someone nearby. There's a person wearing a cap and a hoodie, standing silently watching them. Simon notices, but says nothing for now, unsure of what to make of it. At the end of the day, after the cafe closes, Chelsea approaches Simon and thanks him for waiting patiently. She then asks if he has changed his mind about the job. Simon stands there silently for a moment, thinking carefully. He admits to himself that this job is actually perfect for him. The cafe is close to where he lives, the pay is good, the work doesn't seem too hard, and Chelsea herself seems like a genuinely kind person. He knows that it's rare to find a decent boss these days, and only a fool would turn down a job like this. Even though he feels nervous, Simon decides inwardly that he will accept the job. He figures he just needs to last a week without Chelsea realizing who he really is. After that, when Haley introduces him at the guild meetup as her boyfriend, Chelsea will only know him in that role, and there won't be any reason for her to connect him to Jane's account. With his decision made, Simon looks at Chelsea and tells her that if she still wants to hire him, then he's ready to take the job. Chelsea lights up with happiness, clearly pleased. She tells him he's made the right decision, and she even reaches out to shake hands with him. After shaking her hand, Simon remembers something from their earlier conversation. He mentions that when they spoke on the phone, Chelsea said she needed someone who could handle heavy lifting. But today, he didn't see anyone doing any heavy work. Chelsea smiles at him calmly and tells him that now that he's officially accepted the job, it's time she explains everything to him. Suddenly, Simon's phone vibrates. He looks down and sees a message notification. It's from Chelsea's guild handle, Watermelon. Simon's heart skips a beat. He slowly looks back up at Chelsea, feeling completely unsettled. Chelsea, still smiling, asks him calmly if he didn't think she would know all along. She then addresses him directly, not as a new part-timer, but as Proglamer, or, even more directly, as Simon Choi. Simon stands frozen as the truth sinks in. Chelsea knows who he really is. Before he can say anything, Chelsea calmly stops him. She explains that she had her suspicions for a while, so she asked Jane directly, who confirmed everything. Realizing there's no point trying to explain or make excuses, Simon simply apologizes, admitting that he shouldn't have pretended to be his sister, even if he was using her account. But Chelsea surprises him. She tells him that he has completely misunderstood. She doesn't mind that he was in their women-only guild. In fact, she says that he left a positive impression on her. She reveals that when she saw his job application, she thought it was a perfect coincidence and felt genuinely happy that he applied to her cafe. Confused, Simon asks why she wanted to get in touch with him personally. Chelsea finally explains. She has been dealing with a stalker who won't leave her alone. As a widow without any male friends or acquaintances nearby, she's feeling vulnerable. To protect herself, she needs someone who can act as a deterrent. That's why she's asking him to help her by pretending to be her husband for a short time. Chelsea tells him that since he was the only guy inside their women-only guild, she paid attention to his behavior. Even though they shared photos, he never acted suspicious or inappropriate. Now, even after quitting the guild, he is apologizing sincerely, which proves to her that he's a decent person. She explains that she's been quietly watching him for months and believes she won't find anyone more reliable or relatable. She says she trusts him, and to make things easier, she promises to pay him generously if he agrees to help her. Later that evening, Simon walks slowly through the streets, feeling frustrated. He tells himself that he should have firmly refused her request. He remembers how Chelsea had all the leverage. She even offered him money up front. But now that he said yes, he already regrets agreeing to help her. His instincts tell him that nothing good will come from this. He thinks back to when they first met. He had assumed Chelsea was just a cheerful, slightly naive cafe owner. But when it was just the two of them, she acted like a completely different person, serious, calculating, and mysterious. On top of that, she pretended not to know him, even though she had known who he was all along. Simon feels trapped, and deep down, he can't shake the bad feeling growing inside him. He thinks pretending to be a fake boyfriend is already bad, but now he must act like someone's husband. Even though Chelsea promises not to use his secret against him, he doesn't trust her after what happened with Haley. Since the deal is to convince her stalker that he's her husband, he tries to figure out the fastest way to do it so he can leave her life quickly. The next day at the cafe, the staff and customers get surprised when Simon walks in, dressed up and acting like Chelsea's husband. He chooses this bold move to spread rumors fast. The cafe workers whisper among themselves, wondering if he really is the boss's husband. One of them feels like she has seen him before, but can't recognize him because of how much he has changed his appearance. The customers around also find it hard to believe that Chelsea is with someone who looks rough and intimidating. But Simon plans it this way, hoping Chelsea will regret asking him for help. He believes that after a few days, the news about Chelsea's husband will reach the stalker. Simon expects Chelsea to hate having him around and want to get rid of him soon. Since he is keeping his part of the deal, she must keep his secret too. He thinks Chelsea will be disgusted by him, but to his shock, She seems excited and plays along like they are truly married. She even tells him to help the part-timers until closing time, which completely confuses him. Then she quietly tells him to stop looking so nervous and to smile. Later that evening, after the cafe closes, Chelsea washes the dishes while thinking about everything that happened during the day. She says that Simon really surprised her with what he did earlier. She realizes that he must have dressed up and acted like her husband on purpose just to catch everyone's attention and make them believe the story. She tells him that she's honestly impressed that he came up with such a clever idea so quickly. She compliments him, saying he's smarter than she thought. Simon only replies that it's nothing important, trying to act like he doesn't care, but inside he's shocked. He never expected her to appreciate what he did, especially not the way he looked. Instead of being upset or embarrassed about his rough appearance, she seemed to actually like it. Now, Simon feels stuck. Since everyone believes he's Chelsea's husband, he knows he can't suddenly change how he looks. It's too late to back out now, so he thinks he has no choice but to keep this image for as long as the act lasts. After a while, Chelsea asks Simon what he wants to eat. She says she wants to treat him as a way to thank him for helping her today. Simon tells her that he's not hungry, but Chelsea doesn't believe him. She points out that she hasn't seen him eat anything since morning and adds that she can hear his stomach growling. Embarrassed, Simon argues for a moment, saying what if he wanted to eat something expensive? But then he quickly changes his mind and says he's not picky and will eat anything. As Simon is about to suggest they go to a restaurant, he suddenly stops talking halfway. In that moment, it hits him. He remembers that Chelsea is actually a new mom. When Simon notices the stains on Chelsea's clothes, he quickly tells her to change before they go to the restaurant. At first, he reacts without thinking, but later he understands that it's normal for a new mother like Chelsea to have some stains. He reasons there's really nothing embarrassing about it, but at that moment, he feels he has to say something. Chelsea understands why Simon tells her to change. She doesn't get angry about it because she knows it would have been awkward going out in public like that. She tells him to wait while she goes to change her clothes. However, as she walks away, she remembers she doesn't have any nursing pads in her locker. She feels careless for forgetting something she now needs. Simon, standing there, can tell from Chelsea's expression that she's not embarrassed about the stain itself. Instead, she looks more annoyed about not being properly prepared. Still, he knows he needed to point it out. To thank him for his help earlier, Chelsea offers to give him a ride home. This makes Simon feel a bit strange. He gets the impression she doesn't see him as a man at all. To him, it feels like she treats him more like a pet she's responsible for. While she gets dressed, Chelsea casually asks Simon to help close the curtains. Simon isn't completely happy with the way she treats him, but deep down he admits that she's still better than Haley, who treated him far worse, as if he wasn't even human. After a while, Simon tells himself not to care about how Chelsea treats him. All he wants is to finish this job and get out of her life. He moves to draw the curtains as she asked, but as he does, he freezes. Just outside the window, he sees someone standing there. The person is wearing black clothes, a hoodie, and a face mask. Simon is so shocked that he falls backward without realizing it and lets out a loud scream from pure fear. His mind races, and he suddenly remembers what Chelsea once said about a stalker following her. Hearing Simon scream, Chelsea rushes out, worried. She asks him what's wrong. As Simon struggles to explain, he remembers clearly now the person he saw must be the stalker Chelsea told him about. Without thinking, he tells Chelsea to lock the door right away to stop the person from coming inside. He also says he's going to call the police, but Chelsea calmly tells him there's no point. She explains that unless the police see evidence, they won't be able to help. Simon stops for a moment and realizes she's probably right. Chelsea then suggests they stay inside quietly for a while. She believes that if they wait, the stalker will eventually get bored and leave. Simon watches the way Chelsea stays calm after seeing the stalker and starts to think about it more carefully. He realizes she acts like she's used to things like this. Running the cafe by herself probably means she deals with unwanted attention from customers sometimes. It makes sense to him now why she isn't panicking. While the curtains stay open, Simon begins thinking of a way to make the stalker believe that he and Chelsea are truly married. After thinking for a moment, he comes up with an idea. Without saying anything, he acted in a way to show that he is Chelsea's husband. Outside the window, the stalker watches them silently. The figure stays completely still, but from the body language, it's clear the stalker feels disappointed at what she sees. What Simon and Chelsea don't realize is that the stalker is actually a woman. When the stalker sees them together, she eventually turns away and leaves, unable to watch any longer. As soon as Simon notices that the stalker is gone, he lets go of Chelsea and apologizes. He tells her that the act was just a way to make the stalker believe they're really together. But to his surprise, Chelsea doesn't seem upset. Instead, she thanks him for helping her in that moment, even though she admits she didn't expect him to go that far. She's so shocked by what just happened that she stumbles a little and falls to the floor. Simon quickly reacts and offers his hand to help her get up. As she slowly stands, Chelsea finds herself staring at Simon. She doesn't look away, almost as if she's seeing him differently now. Simon stands frozen, unable to believe what's happening, since that wasn't what he intended at all when he acted earlier. Seeing Chelsea's mood, Simon ends up following her to her room, unsure if what he's doing is really the right thing. He feels confused, but doesn't stop himself. Chelsea then tells Simon that she noticed how nervous he was earlier when he pulled her close because of the stalker outside. Still, she says she's thankful for his quick thinking since it made the stalker leave. To show her gratitude, Chelsea decides to spend some time with Simon and let him relax with her. She invites him to share a peaceful moment together, which surprises Simon. He didn't expect her to open up like that. But now that she does, he decides not to hold back and simply enjoy the time they're spending together. As they continue spending time together, both of them enjoy the moment without thinking too much. Simon knows Chelsea can sometimes act clumsy and a bit tricky, but right now, he finds her so charming that he can't stop looking at her. Chelsea, on her side, feels comfortable and happy having him close, enjoying his company more than she expected. Chelsea doesn't seem ready to let Simon go anytime soon. Meanwhile, Simon feels like he's about to pass out because Chelsea isn't giving him any chance to catch his breath. He finally asks her if they can take a break for a while. Hearing that, Chelsea looks at him and assumes he's getting tired quickly because of his age. Instead of agreeing to stop, she encourages him to hold on a little longer until she's done spending time with him. Even though Simon doesn't really mind letting Chelsea take control, he starts to feel like she's only doing it because she thinks she has to, maybe because she's older than him. Thinking about that, Simon decides to switch things around. He gently takes the lead from her, wanting to show that he can handle it too. This completely surprises Chelsea, who didn't expect him to change the pace. As Simon continues, Chelsea tries to tell him to stop and let her lead again, but Simon stays firm. He feels like he should take charge now, though Chelsea clearly doesn't feel the same. She tries to explain, but Simon doesn't give her the chance to speak. After a while, their time together comes to an end. Chelsea knows Simon must be hungry after everything, especially since he hasn't eaten all day, so she quietly gets up and heads to the kitchen to prepare some food for him. Simon notices that Chelsea suddenly acts calm again, as if nothing unusual happened between them. But he can tell from her behavior that she's actually feeling shy about what just happened. Watching her head to the kitchen, Simon wonders if she's truly satisfied with how their time together ended. So he surprises her by calling out and telling her that he wants to spend more time with her, reminding her that she was the one who told him earlier to act like her husband for the night. Chelsea remembers clearly the first time she met Simon. It was the day he came to her cafe to apply for a job. On that very first day, when she was about to interview him, she had already recognized who he really was. She told him straight away that she knew he was the same person pretending to be pro-glamour in the women-only chat group. She had wondered how someone like him managed to stay hidden for 4 whole months in that group, especially with his personality. It seemed unbelievable to her at the time. Even so, Chelsea told him honestly that day that he had made a good first impression on her. She wasn't lying when she said that. In her mind, she wouldn't have asked for his help later on if she hadn't thought he was a decent and trustworthy person. But as time passed, she started to realize that Simon had more inner strength than she originally believed. Despite all of that, she still saw him as a younger brother, someone she felt responsible for, someone she needed to look after. That's why she often treated him like a pet, someone who followed her lead without question. So, when Simon came back to her asking to spend more time together and share another meal, Chelsea didn't believe it was what he really wanted. She thought maybe he was only doing it to please her, pushing himself too hard just to satisfy what he thought she expected from him. Gently, she told him not to force himself for her sake. But Simon corrected her. He made it clear that he wasn't doing this out of obligation. He wanted to prove himself to her, to show her that he was capable of standing beside her, not behind her. Just like he planned, Simon showed Chelsea the real strength he had inside him. And to her surprise, he wasn't the weak, clueless boy she had always assumed he was. That realization left Chelsea shocked, as she finally saw that Simon wasn't the little brother figure she had kept in her mind. He was far more than that. 5 days later, back in the present, Simon and Chelsea sit together at the women-only hangout spot. Chelsea casually tries to feed Simon slices of apple. Simon feels awkward about it, especially since they're in public, but with everyone watching, he has no choice but to go along with it, pretending he doesn't mind. Sitting beside him is Haley. While Simon talks with Chelsea, Haley joins in the conversation every now and then. Simon thinks about explaining to Haley how he ended up involved with Chelsea in the first place. But before he can say much, Haley tells him not to bother. She says she already understands the situation. She heard that he helped Chelsea with her stalker while working at her cafe. To Simon's surprise, Haley even praises him for being kind and brave enough to help Chelsea when she needed it. She comments that it makes sense now why Simon and Chelsea became close so quickly. This reaction shocks Simon. He expected Haley to be angry, thinking she might accuse him of breaking his promise or betraying her trust. Instead, she seems completely calm about it, as if she doesn't care at all. Simon starts wondering if she's just pretending not to care, or maybe she's not jealous because she knows his relationship with Chelsea is only fake. Either way, he can't figure out what Haley is really thinking. While Simon is lost in thought, Haley suddenly turns to Chelsea and questions her. She asks why Chelsea was trying to act like that to Simon earlier when she caught them together. Haley even jokes, warning Chelsea not to try things like that with a kid like Simon. Chelsea feels embarrassed after hearing that. She apologizes to Haley, admitting that maybe she got carried away. She tries to explain herself, saying that Simon just looked too cute at the time, and without thinking, she treated him like a little brother. But then Chelsea says she was shocked later when Simon told her that he and Haley were actually together. She tells Haley honestly that she didn't know at first and was really surprised to find out. Chelsea remembers how surprised she felt when Simon first told her that he was supposedly dating Haley. It didn't take her long to connect the dots. Simon must have been the mystery boyfriend Haley had mentioned she wanted to introduce to the group that day. But later, Simon quietly explained the truth to Chelsea. He told her he wasn't actually dating Haley. He only went along with Haley's story because he didn't want to upset her, knowing that Haley would get offended if she heard Chelsea call him just a friend or anything less than her boyfriend. Simon had also told Chelsea about Haley's plan to show him off to the other women in the group, treating him like her boyfriend. So Chelsea decided it would be best to play along as well. She planned to introduce Simon as a worker from her cafe while letting Haley continue with her story of pretending Simon was her boyfriend. That was why, during the hangout, Chelsea kept playing along and didn't question Haley's story. As they sat together at the hangout, Chelsea even commented to Haley that she thought Haley and Simon made a nice couple. She said she now understood why Haley had been so eager to introduce him to the group. Hearing such kind words from Chelsea made Haley feel proud and happy. She smiled and told Chelsea she had no problem with Simon working at the cafe. In fact, she even joked that Chelsea could borrow Simon anytime she needed help at the shop, adding that Simon was much stronger than he looked. Chelsea agreed, saying she had also noticed that Simon was surprisingly good at many things, good enough to convince even a stalker that he was her real husband. At that point, Haley paused, surprised and confused. She looked at Chelsea carefully, trying to understand what she meant. Even Simon felt trapped, unsure how to explain. Haley then asked Chelsea directly what she meant by husband. She wanted Chelsea to explain herself clearly. Chelsea calmly told her that Simon had helped her get rid of her stalker. She explained that he had posed as her husband to scare the stalker away. Since that day, the stalker hadn't returned, which to Chelsea proved how convincing and dependable Simon really was. By this time, Haley becomes completely caught up in what Chelsea is saying. Simon notices this and feels a bit confused, wondering why Haley should be upset now when she seemed fine about everything earlier. He tells himself that if she accepted it before, she shouldn't be angry just because Chelsea explained what happened. However, Haley can't keep her feelings hidden any longer. She speaks up, her voice sharper than before, and tells Simon that he's already gone too far. She points out that he posed as Chelsea's husband without her permission, and from what Chelsea said, it sounds like he spent a productive week with her. Even though Haley tries to act like she isn't hurt, Simon can clearly see jealousy written all over her face. Her expression shows how upset she really is, no matter how much she tries to hide it. In the end, she warns Simon that they will definitely talk about this issue later. Trying to move past the awkwardness, the group starts to wonder why the two other members of their group haven't arrived yet. They've been waiting for a long time, but neither the guild leader nor the vice leader has shown up. Haley, feeling impatient, gets ready to send a message to the vice leader to check on her location. Just as Haley is about to type, the door suddenly opens. Everyone looks toward it, and to their shock, the person who enters is none other than the stalker. Simon and Chelsea recognize her immediately. It's the same figure who had been following Chelsea around her apartment days earlier. Simon starts to panic inside, wondering why the stalker would follow Chelsea all the way here. But then comes the biggest surprise. The stalker calmly pulls down her hoodie and removes her face mask, revealing herself. To everyone's shock, the stalker is actually Yuli, the vice leader whom Haley had just been about to message. Yuli, acting like nothing strange has happened, smiles and tells everyone that she came running all the way there because she missed them. Meanwhile, Simon stands frozen, completely lost and confused. Simon remembers Yuli as the lively one in the guild's group chat. She always found a way to be part of every conversation, connecting easily with everyone. Her personality in the chat room was bright and playful, and she was known for her cute antics, which made her popular among the members. Being the youngest in the group, her energy and youthful behavior stood out, and many saw her as the cheerful little sister of the guild. Although Simon had never met her in person before now, he felt like he already knew her. From her constant messages and the way she interacted with everyone, he had formed a mental image of her as someone who could be exhausting to keep up with, but fun to be around at the same time. Back when he saw her pictures shared in the group chat, he imagined that meeting her in real life would likely be overwhelming, thanks to her bright and energetic personality. Now, finally seeing her in person, Simon realizes he was right about her being overwhelming, but not exactly in the way he expected. As he watches her move to sit down and observes her behavior, he senses that her presence feels heavy for an entirely different reason. Something about her energy feels strange, as if there's more behind her cheerful front. Without warning, Yuli suddenly stands up and changes the flow of the conversation. She brings up Haley's earlier discussion about someone, though she admits she can't really make sense of it. Her words confuse Haley, who doesn't understand what Yuli means. It seems like Yuli is questioning something about Haley's relationship, but her unclear way of speaking leaves everyone puzzled. Then, as if nothing strange had happened, Yuli remembers that she hasn't done a proper introduction. She formally introduces herself to Simon and offers him a handshake, even though she's wearing gloves. Simon accepts the handshake politely and greets her in return. But deep down, confusion stirs inside him. He can't understand why Yuli acts as if this is their first meeting. He knows for certain that they have already met before, on that night outside Chelsea's apartment when she was watching them from the shadows. He remembers how clearly the stalker had seen his face that night, even though he couldn't see hers. Chelsea notices that Simon seems distracted while shaking hands with Yuli. His expression looks distant, as if he's lost in thought. Realizing something is off, Chelsea calls his attention back and quietly asks if anything is wrong. That simple question snaps Simon back to reality. He quickly lets go of Yuli's hand and tries to act normal. He tells Chelsea there's no problem at all, pretending everything is fine. To change the subject, he suggests ordering more food for everyone. Chelsea agrees and turns to Yuli, asking if she has anything in mind that she'd like to eat. Yuli responds cheerfully, saying she's fine with anything they order, as long as it's not spicy. Even though Simon tries to act calm, his thoughts remain unsettled. He remembers that Yuli rarely shared pictures of herself in the group chat. But now, seeing her up close, he has no doubt in his mind. Yuli is definitely the same person who was standing outside Chelsea's apartment that night. One thing Simon knows for sure is that Chelsea doesn't realize Yuli is the stalker. He wonders if he should tell Chelsea the truth, but deep down, he feels that sooner or later, Chelsea will discover it herself. As Simon quietly wrestles with his thoughts, Chelsea notices him staring at her. She assumes something is wrong with her appearance and asks if he sees something on her face. Simon quickly shakes off his thoughts and replies that it's nothing like that. Trying to stay focused, he asks again about what he should order. Chelsea answers, reminding him to choose anything except spicy food. Meanwhile, Haley starts feeling jealous. She notices how much of Simon's attention is focused on Chelsea. Wanting to shift the mood and pull some of that attention back toward herself, Haley decides to liven up the hangout. She pulls out a bottle of alcohol and suggests that everyone start drinking together to make the gathering more fun. Simon, trying to be the responsible one, warns Haley not to get drunk, especially since she'll need to drive home later. But Haley brushes off his concern, saying she plans to hire someone to drive her home instead, making it clear that she doesn't intend to hold back from drinking. At first, Yuli says she won't drink, explaining that she needs to drive home later. But after watching Haley dive enthusiastically into drinking, Yuli changes her mind and decides to join her. When Simon notices this change, he asks Yuli why she suddenly changed her mind. Yuli casually tells him that seeing Haley's determination to get drunk made her feel like joining in. She then asks Simon if he's ever seen Haley drink before, and when he says no, Yuli tells him this will be his chance. She hints that watching Haley drunk is always entertaining. It doesn't take long before Haley is completely drunk. Her energy fades, and she starts looking weak and tired after drinking too much. As Simon watches her slump over, he asks Yuli if this is really what she meant by entertaining, since all he sees is someone who clearly can't handle her alcohol. Yuli doesn't say much in response. Instead, she silently points toward Haley. When Simon looks over, he sees Haley staggering closer to him. Before he can react, she wraps her arms around him as if he's her real boyfriend. In her drunken state, she starts calling him sweet names, acting completely attached to him. Then, without warning, Haley asks Simon if he knows how much she likes him. This sudden confession leaves Simon shocked, unsure how to react. Meanwhile, Chelsea watches everything from the side. Seeing Haley cling to Simon and hearing those words affects her. She grows quiet and rests her head on the table, clearly bothered and jealous, though she tries not to show it too much. Yuli, on the other hand, can't stop laughing at the whole situation. Simon grows frustrated with Yuli's laughter. He asks her to stop laughing and just explain what's going on. Yuli finally tells Simon that Haley always gets extremely clingy when she's drunk. This is just her usual behavior when she drinks too much. Then, as if she finds the moment too good to waste, Yuli casually pulls out her phone and takes a picture of Simon and Haley together, with Haley still hugging him. Simon notices this and wonders why Yuli would take such a picture. Yuli explains that she took the photo so Simon can use it to tease Haley later when she sobers up. This surprises Simon even more, leaving him at a loss for words. Finally, unable to handle the situation any longer, Simon decides to take action. Knowing that the restaurant's restroom isn't gender-specific, he plans to carry Haley there so he can splash cold water on her face, hoping it will help her sober up quickly. As soon as Chelsea hears Simon's plan to take Haley to the restroom, she lifts her head and offers to come along and help. But Simon quickly reassures her not to worry about it, promising they won't take long. With that, he carefully leads Haley toward the restroom. While walking, Simon can't help but wonder why Haley drank so much when she knows she can't handle alcohol. He makes a mental note to remind her next time to drink less, knowing this could have been avoided. Once they reach the restroom, Simon prepares to help sober her up by washing her face with cold water. But just as he's about to do so, Haley suddenly catches him off guard. Without warning, she pushes him against the wall and blocks his movement. Her posture shifts, and she acts like nothing is wrong, her expression strangely serious despite her drunken state. Then, still acting like she's perfectly fine, Haley confronts him, hinting that she feels left out. She questions why it seems like only Chelsea is allowed to have fun moments with him, making it clear that, in her mind, she's been watching and feeling overlooked. Haley confronts Simon seriously, accusing him of thinking she's foolish. She feels like he's been lying to her all along about Chelsea, even while she had been doing him a favor by pretending to be his girlfriend. She struggles to understand how Simon got so close to Chelsea in just a week. Her frustration grows as she accuses him of treating her like a joke simply because she has been kind to him. She also feels humiliated, believing that Simon embarrassed her in front of the other guild members through his actions. Simon, however, is confused about why Haley is so upset over something he sees as minor. In his mind, all he did was give Chelsea a simple peck, which didn't seem strange to him. He doesn't understand why Haley is taking it so personally, and he tells her that directly. He doesn't see why it should be a problem. Haley's anger flares. Without thinking, she kicks Simon lightly in the thigh, insisting that he should stop acting like a victim and enjoy the attention she's giving him. She frames her actions as if she's doing him a favor by offering him her company. As Simon watches her behavior, he starts to realize that Haley is looking down on him again. She seems to believe that he's staying silent because he has nothing to say in his defense. Recognizing this, Simon feels the need to speak up and make her understand the situation clearly. He calmly asks Haley why she's so concerned about how he behaves, reminding her that they aren't even a real couple. His words catch Haley off guard. She wasn't expecting him to say something so blunt. Hearing him admit that he never saw them as a real couple surprises her more than she's willing to admit. But instead of showing how hurt she feels, she tries to act normal. She responds coolly, saying he's right. It isn't her business. Yet, despite that, she still offers him her company, claiming she's simply being kind by spending time with him. Simon finds her reaction baffling. After everything he just told her, he never expected her to continue pretending like nothing happened. He warns her, telling her that if she keeps acting like this, she's only going to regret it later. But Haley refuses to listen. She sticks to her reasoning, insisting that she's only giving him a kind gesture, not expecting anything in return. Since Haley insists on acting like nothing is wrong, Simon decides to just go along with her for the moment. He doesn't see the point in arguing further, especially since she's refusing to face how serious the situation feels to him. As they stand there in silence, both avoiding deeper conversation, the sound of the restroom door suddenly opening breaks the tense atmosphere. Haley immediately senses that someone has entered the restroom. Without wasting a moment, she urges Simon to move with her to another spot where they won't risk being seen together. She clearly doesn't want anyone to misunderstand the situation or catch them in such a compromising place. But Simon chooses not to listen. Instead of following her, he stays where he is. Inside, he feels curious. He wants to see how Haley would react if someone actually found them there. Considering how controlling and confident she usually acts, Simon wonders if being caught would shake her composure.